Good morning. How are you? Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. Thank you all for coming here today as we kick off our new year, even though it's halfway through January, which is kind of hard to believe. I'm joined here by my team. Police Chief David Smith is here. Corporation Counsel Patrick Beath. Our Deputy Chief Dobberton is here. Our Chief Stefano Napolitano of the Fire Department. Our Deputy Department of Emergency Communications Director, George Rooney. Caputeo Counzi, who is our Interim Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Services. And behind him is our Emergency Manager, Fred Ryan. And to my right is Zeke Tukes from the Office of Violence Prevention, Aaliyah Hinton-Williams from our Crisis Services, our Commissioner of Recreation Department of Human Services, Dr. Shirley Green, and of course our Corporation Counsel, Patrick Beath. So today we're here to talk about the ending of last year, but more importantly, what we're going to do this year to continue that momentum. As many of you know, there are cities across this country last year that did not see a decrease in violence, and we're happy to report that in Rochester that we did. We know that I can tell you, I remember standing here almost 3 years ago talking about the challenges that we had with the pandemic, and I said that we kind of had two pandemics. We had a pandemic of violence, and also we know the COVID-19 pandemic that claimed a lot of lives. We also said we didn't want violence to be normalized, and we were going to make sure that we did this all-hands approach, but we were going to start at City Hall with our preventative measures as well as our intervention measures. And that is what you see here with the individuals that are here. But we also said that we were going to work with every level of government, federal, state, county, and city, to help us bring down violence. And I want to say I believe that we have been successful with that. Over the past 3 years, the team has made significant progress on all three gun violence metrics. They fell more than half from their peaks in 2021. If you remember, shootings went down 53%, shooting victims went down 51%, and fatal shootings also fell a total of 51%. And total homicides, including those without firearms, fell 45%. As I've said many times, and I know you all probably can repeat this, I'm gratified but not yet satisfied. And even though these numbers have come down, folks have said, why don't you ease up on the state of emergency? I said, absolutely not, because we want to continue to dramatize and let people understand that any gun violence is unacceptable. And we are so grateful for our partners in the community that have worked with this, and I'm sure some of our partners will touch on that in a second, but we're very happy about that. But also as it relates to public safety, our work around fire and also our Vision Zero plan, which is traffic fatalities, is something that we want to see improve this coming year as well. The number of traffic deaths from pedestrians walking are less this year than it was in the previous year, and we want that to continue to also decline as we continue to roll out our Vision Zero program. Public safety is guns, that's one area of it, but also fire as well as pedestrians is also extremely important. So we are extremely pleased to see the end of the year numbers be less than they were in 2023, and we want them to be, we were great that they were less in 2023, continue to go down in 2024, and we're hoping that, and I know that they will continue to go down in 25 if we continue to work together. I also want to thank I mentioned our Deputy Commissioner and our Vision Zero initiative. That is to get rid of all traffic fatalities, as I said. And I want to thank the team that is working on that under our Deputy Commissioner. The amount of people that are dying in traffic deaths, as I said, has been ridiculous. And you will see more things being rolled out this year as it relates to addressing our Vision Zero program. If you just remember, at the end of last year, we passed our bus arm camera program where we are trying to work with the Rochester City School District to get bus arm cameras on all areas where students are crossing the street so they won't be hit by cars. And we will continue to expand those type of efforts as we continue to go forward. I also want to thank Emergency Communications Director, Deputy Director George Rooney for his team who are working diligently to try to fill the staffing shortages that we have had in 911. We have 2 big classes coming up, and we want to encourage people that are interested in working for our 911 communications and making a difference to apply for those jobs. That is one of the cornerstones of public safety is our 911 office, and we want to make sure people are taking advantage of that. And also want to thank our team here, both HR as well as 911 and fire, for the success that we've had with our summer public safety internship program, which we see as a way to get people enrolled in public safety courses, public safety information, to then ensure that they can come work for the city of Rochester. We think that that is extremely important. So as I said before, as you can see at the charts, we are happy with the numbers that have continued to fall. I'm going to have the chief get more in detail into the numbers, but also to talk about what we are going to do next year. And I also want him to touch on our non-fatal shootings as well as clearance rate, which is extremely, extremely important. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. As we enter this, sorry, Mayor. All right, let's try it again. As we enter this new year, I'm proud to show the public the incredible gains that we've made as a police department under our mission statement of crime reduction, service, and professionalism. We have specifically targeted gun violence and those that illegally carry guns in our city, while at the same time building relationships with our community. Relationship building highlights include the first ever Frederick Douglass Classic. The Rochester Police Department took the lead in bringing 2 incredible HBCU football teams to Rochester, along with their bands and the cheerleaders. This is the first time a police department has sponsored an HBCU Classic. This was due to mostly the efforts of Deputy Chief Keith Stith. Deputy Chief Stith has accepted a chief of police job in his home state of New Jersey and has departed the Rochester Police Department, but we do wish him luck in his future endeavors, and he will certainly be missed. He was a critical part of the team. Getting back to the football game, that weekend thousands enjoyed a weekend of not only entertainment, but our youth were able to build positive connections with these schools, our city school youth. Additionally, the Rochester Police Department and the Urban League of Rochester began a historic relationship that includes shared office space, joint programming, as well as Urban League presentations at our roll calls. Our officers are increasingly out in the community with patrol officers conducting walking patrols at least once during their shift, 90% of the time. So it's 15 to 30 minutes depending on workload. And we monitor that. We're at 90% compliance for getting these folks out and around and stopping in. On an operational side, we continue to work with New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services in the GIVE program. It is a state program. However, Rochester's utilization of the program in our structure has been adopted by the state as a model for all the other GIVE cities in the state, including we were the first to actually bring on board a dedicated GIVE program director. Our hotspot policing in our street segments has led to a roughly 30% decrease of violence in our hotspot areas. And if you remember, we talk about street segments often. We focus on street segments. In 2024, there were 0 homicides in the GIVE street segments in Clinton section. In partnership with the Mayor's Office and the Law Department, we've utilized emergency closure orders on known problem locations to bring them into compliance with operating safely. In the East End Bar District, we've utilized the gun violence emergency to create a special event zone on busy Saturday nights to ensure safety in our entertainment district so folks can come and have a good time. We meet weekly with the business owners to continually fine-tune this plan in order to enhance safety while providing this safe entertainment environment. I'm happy to report we have had 0 significant incidents since these measures have been put into place. Additionally, in partnership with the Monroe County Health Department, we instituted a Leave Behind Naloxone program in both the Clinton and the Goodman sections. We are one of the first police agencies in New York State to have police officers with naloxone kits to disperse to high-risk members of our community. We are also fostering relationships with the University of Rochester. We recently began a program in which psychiatric students are doing ride-alongs with us, which exposes them to the mental health crisis from a first responder's point of view and helps them gain a perspective of psychiatric emergencies in the field. 2024 also brought the first gun buyback program to the City of Rochester in 5 years. In partnership with the New York State Attorney General's office, we took 514 guns in at the buyback. A large amount of were handguns, which is unusual for a gun buyback. In total, last year, the Rochester Police Department took 1,290 illegal guns off the street. From an administrative side, a 4-year collective bargaining agreement was agreed upon and ratified for the first time with the Rochester Police Locust Club in 10 years, extending the labor agreement into 2028. We successfully completed 2 academy classes in 2024, getting us 26 new members of the department. Of those 26 new officers, 57% are minorities. On a financial side, we secured $10 million in grant funding to go toward increasing technological needs, which will pay for a complete replacement and upgrade of our blue light camera system in the upcoming years. What has all this work gotten us? Well, in 2024, homicide victims dropped to 47, a 19% decrease from 58 last year, and a 45% decrease from 85 in 2021. Of those 47 homicides, our major crimes unit has a 77% closure rate, well above the national average. Shooting victims. We had 205 shooting victims compared to 288 last year, and our all-time high of 419 in 2021. A 29% decrease from last year and a 52% decrease from 2021. Our non-fatal shooting unit has an over 30% clearance rate, and that unit has also been chosen to become a model for agencies statewide. And if you remember, the non-fatal shooting unit was formed as part of our reorganization. The idea behind that is they investigate each and every shooting just as we do a homicide. Besides the clearance rate, that unit has a 92% conviction rate, by the way. Stolen vehicles. Who can forget stolen vehicles? 2023 started as a plague of stolen vehicles across our community, both city and county, with over 3,000 vehicles stolen in the city of Rochester, a vast majority of which we know were Hyundais and Kias. Excuse me. Throughout 2024, we continued a multitude of efforts, including a stolen vehicle task force collaborating with the New York State Police and the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. That detail, along with other efforts, helped to reduce the number of stolen vehicles to less than 1,800 in 2024, a 45% reduction. So where do we go from here? Where are we going this year? This past fall, working with New York State DCJS, we instituted a group violence intervention strategy. We are now dedicating detectives from our Special Investigations section to work with our partners in the ATF, New York State Police, Monroe County Sheriff's Office, and others. They target groups that are bringing violence to our city. Using these partnerships, we are targeting interstate firearms trafficking and other group-related violent crimes. Just recently, intelligence from this group, working with our non-fatal shooting unit, led to SWAT executing a search warrant that recovered 4 firearms, full auto switches, and other gun manufacturing parts that have a nexus to trafficking out of state. We look to expanding the success of the GVI program in holding not just individuals accountable, but those groups that bring violence to our city. I discussed earlier the rollout of our Leave Behind Naloxone campaign that has started in our Clinton and Goodman sections. We are in the process of rolling it out citywide. Soon, every patrol officer will have kits containing naloxone educational materials and information on addiction services to high-risk individuals and those around high-risk individuals. Although we start this year short over 100 officers, we are continuing to expand our recruitment efforts to reduce that number. We are scheduled to add a second academy class again this year. As chief, I pride myself on the transparency of the Rochester Police Department. Our open data portal offers years of crime data with robust search capabilities. While this is great for crime data, we often hear the need for transparency regarding the department itself. I'm proud to say that we are in the final stages as one of the first police agencies in the nation to utilize Measure for Justice's Commons platform. This is a multi-year project aimed at providing data on the community-driven categories such as uses of force, calls for service, budget, and more. Finally, we are in the stages of our reaccreditation process with New York State. It should be noted we were the first accredited police department in New York State, and Monroe County is the only county in New York State in which every law enforcement agency is accredited. These are just a few highlights from the Rochester Police Department from 2024. Although violent crime is significantly trending down, we know we cannot rest. Our work is not done, and we will constantly strive to do better. We will continue to work with our partners, both in our community and law enforcement, to make Rochester a safer place. And I will turn it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you. And thank you. And we'll miss Deputy Chief Stith, although we're always happy when people get promotions and him being the chief. But I'm going to tell the folks out there, stop stealing my people. Don't steal any more members of my command staff. But we're happy for him and his big new role as a chief of police. I want to just again reiterate something the chief said about zeroing in on guns. This past year, as he mentioned, one of the biggest numbers of guns that we have taken off the streets probably ever, as long as I can remember, because of that gun buyback. And that is absolutely critical. There's no coincidence that you see a drop in violence and an uptick in illegal guns being taken off the streets. And again, we say illegal guns. They have no place in our city, and they have no place in the hands of people who should not have them, and we will continue to get those out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them going forward through our programs. I want to bring up Patrick Beath, our Corporation Counsel, to talk about some of the legal tools that we have used and will continue to use this year as it relates to public safety. Patrick?
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. I want to talk a little bit about the work the law department has done in partnership with the RPD and our neighborhood service centers in holding owners accountable where violence breaks out at their properties. And the major tool that we've used to do this, to be both nimble and effective, is the mayor's gun violence emergency order. We've used that through the course of 2024 at 15 different locations. 10 of those locations, we've used the emergency gun violence order to close the location for all social purposes, where illegal parties were being held, where alcohol was being served without a license, where there was no entertainment license. Things get out of control, fights break out, shots are fired. 10 of those locations, we used the emergency order to close for all social purposes. 4 locations, we used the emergency order to close for all purposes. There was no reason for the location to be opened. We closed it, we boarded it, the misconduct stopped. One of the emergency orders we've issued have been very special and very creative, and we've used it to create a safe, pedestrian-friendly, pedestrian-welcoming area in the East End so that folks can go out and have a good time and do it safely. And that is something we intend to continue to do to promote the East End for our neighborhood. There are 7 other locations that the law department has had interventions with to stop violence, where fortunately we haven't had to use an emergency order. We've been able to get cooperation from an owner voluntarily to tighten things up and to make sure the property is being used in a safe and responsible way. And that's what we would like to see. What we'd also like to see is to be able to stop using the gun violence emergency order. But that day is not here, as the mayor said. And we're not going to be satisfied until there's no more gun violence. And so we have to keep that emergency proclamation in place. We have to keep the emergency order as a tool to hold owners accountable when their properties get out of control. And unfortunately, we've seen that already this year. We had a recent incident on Thurston Road where at a Airbnb, dozens of shots were fired. Fortunately, nobody was injured, thank goodness. But we've issued an emergency order, we've closed that location, and we're in conversations with the owner now to make sure that that sort of conduct stops. So we're looking forward to continuing to lead the way through the use of the mayor's emergency powers in 2025 to make sure that these properties don't get out of hand and owners are held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. And critical that we zero in on locations that cause issues. We have to send a message in the community that we want people to have a good time. I've said this all along, but we don't want gunfire incidences happening at these places, particularly in residential neighborhoods where people live. And the incident that you saw this past weekend, thankfully no one was killed, but we activated immediately to make sure that something like that does not happen again. Because you only get one chance to be right. And that one chance when you're wrong, we can often see injury or even worse, death. And that's why it's important for us to use these tools. I want to bring up Zeke Tukes of the Office of Violence Prevention to talk about our efforts through the Office of Violence Prevention, and particularly the preventative efforts that we have taken place. By the time someone is shot and killed, ladies and gentlemen, it's too late. It's taken place. They're gone. We want to make sure that we stop violence before it happens. And that is why the Office of Violence Prevention in our work with the Department of Recreation and Human Services as well is so very important. So Zeke, if you can just come up and also talk about what we got cooking for 2025.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. As we reflect on 2024, I'm proud to say that the Office of Violence Prevention has made significant strides in reducing violence and strengthening connections across Rochester. Through collaborations, outreach, innovations, we have shown the power of community-driven solutions, and that drives us to create a safer city. As we go over a couple of our 2024 highlights, we did a great job of supporting the entire city. However, 68% of our services were delivered to the northeast and southwest quadrants of the city. In these two quadrants and all across the city, we addressed unique challenges, but we built trust and we fostered resilience throughout those communities. Across the city, we hosted peace barbecues, late night basketball. We gave away food, hats, and gloves during the Thanksgiving break. At the end of the year, we took over a couple rec centers in what we call Pathways to Peace Day, where for over a 3-day period, we had over 100 young people come to the rec centers where we fed them, we did life skills with them, we did workshops with them, and it was a great opportunity for those guys. These initiatives that we do, they're not just events. These are opportunities to bring people together, create safer spaces, and to demonstrate our commitment to our community well-being. Through outreach, conflict mediation, both in and out of schools, we have created pathways to safer and support individuals and their families. Our school-based teams continue to make significant impacts in the 9 schools that we serve. Each of our 9 staff members not only working with the rest of the student body, but they also work exclusively with an estimated between 15 to 20 students. For all 9 of our schools, that's an estimated between 135 and 180 students that we are working with very exclusively through conflict resolution, peer mediation, life skills, workshops, and more. Our team addresses individual challenges, and we try to foster and support our environment for a safer learning environment throughout our schools. Our Advanced Peace program, that's also within the Office of Violence Prevention, this program continues to change lives. Now in its 3rd cohort, this initiative empowers former gun offenders with resources, mentorship, and skills to make better decisions, break cycles of violence, and become agents of positive change within their own communities. This program has also expanded its reach throughout the city as well. As we look ahead for 2025, the Office of Violence Prevention is committed to deepen its impact and adapting to the evolving needs of Rochester. We plan to launch new programs focused on intervention, prevention, and youth development to address the root causes of violence and support positive outcomes for all residents. I will not go into grave detail about those programs now. However, the community will be informed appropriately as these initiatives and programs are rolled out. OVP, as we call it, the Office of Violence Prevention, is more than just a collection of programs. It's a movement for a safer and more united Rochester. Through collaboration, empowerment, and commitment to addressing challenges, we are building a city where every resident has an opportunity to thrive. Thank you and for your continued support as we move forward to 2025 with determination and hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeke. I appreciate all your hard work. We know that mental health is probably one of the top issues that we have in our community. If you watched the governor's State of the State yesterday, she spent a lot of time talking about mental health. It is one of the top issues that we have here in Rochester. It is absolutely related to public safety. It is part of our holistic approach, and that's why I want to have our crisis services manager, Aaliyah Hinton-Williams, to come up and touch on the mental health work from last year and the mental health work that we'll be pursuing in the coming year. Aaliyah.
Good morning. January 22nd will mark the 4-year anniversary of the Person in Crisis PIC team. 2024 was another positive and impactful year of serving the community through effective crisis intervention for numerous types of crises. When we started this work in January of 2021, the PIC team was responsible for responding to 3 different call types. 4 years later, we have grown and expanded due to our strong partnership with the Rochester Police Department, our other community partners, and our community members entrusting us with their lives. Our responses now include more call types, such as homelessness, domestic violence, substance use, potential overdose, death in the home, fire scenes, and AMR scenes. In 2024, the Person in Crisis team responded to over 10,000 total calls. There were over 1,200 PIC alone calls, 4,403 co-response calls, and 1,720 mental health calls. 6,352 additional calls, including community members with suicidal thoughts and connecting community members to services. The PIC team also supplied over 300 points of homeless outreach contact between March and November of 2024, thanks in part to our partnership with the Rochester Police Department's Community Relations Unit. The PIC team is making a difference 24 hours a day, one crisis at a time, by responding to hundreds of calls each month, offering compassionate, person-centered, trauma-informed support to those in need as we assist community members through their crisis and connect them to needed resources and partners. This year, our goals are to continue serving our community based on what works, as well as addressing community needs. We will continue to grow our partnerships with community organizations. We will continue to bring awareness about the work of the PIC team, which can be reached by calling 988, and additionally, educating our community about the many resources available to assist individuals with mental health and quality of life issues, no matter what those issues may look like. This will enable them to make informed decisions that will be positively life-altering. Thank you.
Thank you. Cannot talk about public safety without talking about mental health, and that is why this is so critical. The expansion of this over the last couple of years has been amazing, and we have more to come in 2025, so stay tuned. I'm sure you'll be getting another update in the mental health space at this podium very soon. I want to bring up our Commissioner of Recreation and Human Services, Dr. Shirley Green, to talk about some of the great programs that we have put in place as a preventative measure. We can keep people busy, they'll stay out of trouble. There's a direct link to that, from employment to rec opportunities to community service. These are ways to keep particularly our young people out of trouble and engaged. And I want to have Dr. Green come up and talk about those efforts and upcoming efforts. Dr. Green.
Thank you, Mayor. The Department of Recreation and Human Services is deeply committed to our role in reducing violence, especially for our young children. Every child has a right to live their life without fear that they or someone they love will become a victim of violence. And every child has a right to live their lives free from the trauma that violence can inflict on them and their family and their friends. More than 11,000 children registered to participate in activities last year, and in 2025, we're going to get that number up to at least 12,000, and that's a conservative estimate. We also served over 80,000 meals and snacks this year, and in 2025, we're moving that number up as well. I'd also like to remind parents that coming up is February recess, and our recreation centers will be open during the day, just as we did during winter recess, as well as providing breakfast and lunch. One program we're especially proud of is our partnership with the Center for Youth to provide mental health counseling for 4 city recreation centers. They're still preparing their report for the total numbers of 2024, but we see from the quarterly data that a growing number of young people are taking advantage of this service. In the 3rd quarter of last year, July through September, counselors engaged with 333 children, which was an 87% increase over the 178 students they engaged in the 1st quarter. These interactions extend to family members when they come to pick up children. For instance, when a counselor pulled one young woman's grandmother aside to let her know that they've noticed a negative change in the child's behavior, the grandmother informed the counselor that their child's father had been sent to jail and the mother was suffering from addiction and living out of the state. The grandmother said she was now raising the child alone and having difficulty. The counselor began to pay more attention to that child when she comes to the rec center. These are the kinds of interactions that allow us to get below the surface of a child's behavior, build relationships, and see what's going on in their lives so that we can give them the help that they need. Of course, as the mayor often says, the best public safety program for young people is a job. And our staff is getting ready for the open application period for Summer of Opportunity, which opens on February 1st. We're also currently hiring summer recreation positions and lifeguards for the summer. We're not waiting till the last minute. We're getting ahead of the game. We definitely need lifeguards to make sure we can open all of our pools and Durand Beach. That's why the mayor, a few years ago, raised the pay wage for these positions to up to $20 an hour because we value our lifeguards. We know our summer recreation jobs are a good way to prepare young people for future employment. How do we know this? Because we have a summer rec worker who is now our mayor. This is just a glimpse of the many programs and services we offer at the Rochester's recreation centers. There is so much more, and I encourage parents to register their children for these free services. Visit us at www.cityofrochester.gov/ourcentral to see over 200 programs and activities that your children can be a part of. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Green, and thank you, Dr. Green, for all the work that you are doing in your department. Lots of work, and we only scratched the surface, and we will continue this work, and we'll accelerate it into 2025. This pilot that we started that is now really going on in 4 of our rec centers with providing mental health support is so critical. This was something we wanted to try out, and we saw how successful it is, and it's something that we're going to continue to do. It is unique to Rochester, and we believe that it also could be a model for the rest of the country and the rest of the state. I think folks should try this. We know how important mental health is, and you can do it in a way that is supportive in the our centers, because we know that's where kids are, and you have to go to where they are, and that's why that program has been so successful. And of course, our jobs program, jobs. We will continue to do that, and we will be opening it up coming in February, so more to come on that as well. I want to bring up Chief Stefano Napolitano. I want to thank the Rochester Fire Department. They have been busy. You all have been reporting on these 3, 4, 5 alarm fires, multiple fires. They have been extremely busy putting out those fires, but they do so much more. And the chief will touch upon that and also talk about the work going forward. Chief.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, everyone. Similar to Chief Smith, I am exceptionally proud of the women and men of the City of Rochester Fire Department and the amazing work that they do day in, day out. As the mayor alluded to, most people think the fire department is there simply to extinguish a fire. That is not the case. In 2024, we responded to 39,352 total requests for services. Of that, 19,456 were fire rescue related, and 19,896 were emergency medical related. And that covers a host of medical issues and concerns. What I'm exceptionally proud about is that $959,999,000 $939,782 worth of property were protected and remain on the tax rolls. For personnel, we graduated 26 personnel in July in our recruit class. These individuals are now probationary firefighters. This year, at the end of last year, we hired an additional 32 new recruit firefighter candidates that began their journey of 26 weeks on January 7th. We hired last year 31 summer public safety interns and trainees, and they completed their residency program in 2024. We promoted 17 lieutenants, 8 captains, 2 battalion chiefs, a deputy chief, and an executive deputy chief. One thing in regards to our personnel that I'm exceptionally proud about again is that we completed 123,516 hours of skill competency training and professional development for our personnel to make sure they keep their skills, knowledge, and abilities at the highest level possible. Our fire investigation unit made 74 arson-related arrests, and of those 74, 2 were serial arsonists. Our line division people installed 1,348 early detection systems, including 742 smoke detectors, 606 carbon monoxide detectors, and they conducted 5,600 building safety inspections. That's unheard of. Our community risk reduction division, we conducted 128 public safety events, and we reached over 10,000 community members in person. Our social media platform, we have 5,700 new social media followers, and we have 1.9 million individuals were reached by public safety content online. So we're not just doing face-to-face, but we're also utilizing social media platforms and other online platforms in order to reach and educate the public about fire safety. As you may recall, earlier in the year, the mayor facilitated renovations on the Broad and Allen and Goodman Street firehouses to improve operational and living conditions for our firefighters so they can continue to do their absolute best work, and those are progressing as planned at this time. As we look ahead to 2025, the City of Rochester Fire Department is committed to enhancing safety and the well-being of our community through continuous improvement and innovation. Our continued plan for 2025 focuses on several key priorities. Our first is strengthening community engagement. We all know that the engagement is absolutely necessary. We will continue our outreach efforts to build stronger connections with residents, schools, and community organizations through expanding our fire prevention education programs and increasing awareness of fire safety practices. Diversity and inclusion. We remain dedicated to building a diverse and inclusive workforce that reflects the fabric of the community. Our recruitment strategies will continue to ensure that our fire department is equipped with individuals from various backgrounds who bring unique perspectives and experiences. Workforce development and support. We will invest in ongoing training and professional development to ensure that our firefighters are equipped with the latest skills, techniques, and technologies. Additionally, we will focus on strengthening our support systems for our firefighters to promote their health, well-being, and career satisfaction. Enhancing response capabilities. Our commitment to excellence in emergency response will continue, with a focus on modernizing equipment, optimizing response times, and improving coordination across departments. We will continue to evaluate and enhance our operational strategies to ensure we're always prepared to meet the ever-evolving needs of the city. Lastly, environmental sustainability. As we move forward, we are committed to exploring sustainable practices while reducing our environmental footprint. The City of Rochester Fire Department is dedicated to providing the highest level of service, innovation, and care in 2025 and beyond. Together, we will continue to build a safer, more resilient community for all. And lastly, I would like to thank our partners, all the senior management team departments that we work with on a daily basis, our partnerships, DES, DRISE, the Office of Management and Budget, everyone, and I'm excluding some because I'm kind of forgetting right now, but all the different departments. I'd also like to acknowledge our relationship with Firefighters Local 1071, and lastly, the support and the partnership with Mayor Evans and Deputy Mayor Burns. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And we continue to pray also for our fellow citizens in California, particularly Los Angeles, as they continue to deal with just unspeakable tragedy coming out of the wildfires that continue to burn. We also offer our prayers to them. And Chief, we thank the men and women for all the work that they have done, particularly these last 3 weeks where they have been extremely busy putting out all types of fires. With that, I will take any questions, a few questions that you might have before we wrap up. I know we gave you a lot of information, but I had committed at the beginning of my term that we would do these every quarter, and we're in the first quarter, so we had to do it, right? So any questions that folks may have? Yep. No political questions. I can't answer political questions in City Hall, but I'll, yeah. But the first question was related to interpersonal disputes that oftentimes escalate to violence. Interpersonal disputes are the cause of almost every violent incident that we see in Rochester. When you do the autopsy afterwards in terms of looking what led up to it, it is oftentimes disrespect. There have been times when I've asked the chief, I say, Chief, why did they shoot this person? And they'll say disrespect. The idea here is that we want to try to get ahead of, continue to try to get ahead of those disputes before they happen, and this is why the work of Pathways to Peace is so very important, and why the work of the police department's gun-involved violence elimination is important, because we can see if there's a fight that's broken up or an argument that happens, we then can call in our Office of Violence Prevention, the chief can call in the Office of Violence Prevention, and then they can disrupt that. We believe that we've seen success in that because of the drop that we've seen in violent incidences that have happened. The other thing that's important is that you give people opportunity. And when you give people opportunity, they don't have time to have any types of beef that are taking place. That allows them to be able to stay focused on the main thing. In terms of your political question, I have a city to run. So I have a 4-year term. I have a city to run into December 31st, 2025. Politics will take care of itself outside of this building, but while we're here, we're focused on making sure that we have a strong public safety system throughout our city. Silly season, which I call politics, will take care of itself, but our jobs here in City Hall is to make sure that we have a functioning government that delivers for the people of Rochester. And I think that we've been delivering strongly for the people of Rochester for the past 3 years and 1 month. Next question. Anybody else before we wrap up? Yep, I think the investigation continues on Maplewood Park, and I'll let the chief make any comments that he want to make. Obviously, we're not going to jeopardize any investigation, but that is an incident I think about every day, and I probably talk to the chief about it probably every day. Chief, anything you want to add on the investigation as it relates to Maplewood?
The investigation continues. Obviously, I can't get into it, but that incident is another classic example of where violence interrupters do work if we become, or Pathways to Peace, the Office of Violence Prevention, becomes aware of a dispute, because, you know, that's a classic example, an interpersonal dispute between two individuals that happened in a very public setting led to what we saw in Maplewood.
And just let me add again, you all have pictures of individuals that are out, and maybe we'll put those pictures back out again. So again, there's information that we continue to gather. Don't stop. That particular incident in Maplewood, the community was amazing in terms of helping us investigate this. They provided many of the pictures that we got were provided by the community. So that shows the stick-to-itiveness, the commitment of our community members to saying enough is enough as it relates to violence. And we hope that that partnership also continues. Yes. Absolutely. I mean, this is a question about domestic violence and a law that was mentioned yesterday in the state of the state. I will say absolutely we have seen serious incidents of domestic violence standing here doing domestic violence partnership conversations as well as press conferences that we have had with both Willow and all of our partners that are up here. Aaliyah Hinton-Williams is very familiar with this. Her team works a lot on domestic violence incidents. Look, we had a woman that was basically gutted. Some of you have interviewed her. We have had individuals that have been shot and killed after warning that they may become victims of domestic violence. Not only does that law need to be strengthened, but we also need the court system to make sure that they are dealing with individuals that are perpetuating domestic violence, and when they are picked up, that the court system is doing its job to make sure that they don't come out and reoffend. One egregious case, which I want folks to remember, is one that involved a mother and her daughter. Not only did this individual, and he was recently sentenced, I believe, or getting ready to be sentenced, not only did he stab the mother in front of his daughter, he then went and attacked the daughter and stabbed her as well. And she was covered in blood from a neighbor. So we have plenty of these stories where domestic violence has escalated to some serious violence. It's something that we cannot tolerate. And the one proposal on the table will help strengthen that, but we all have to work together to make sure that we put an end to it. Thank you for your question. I can take one last question before we wrap up. Okay, I want to thank you all for coming, and Happy New Year to everyone, and we look forward to a very, very strong 2025. Take care.